Aita, drama, secrets, confessions. Welcome to Trove Reddit.
The day I met that boy, my entire world collapsed. A street kid dared to teach me, the daughter of a billionaire, how to live. It sounds impossible, but that was the truth that left me breathless with shock. Can you believe it? I, someone who had been served from breakfast to bedtime, had to learn the lesson of survival from a boy who didn't even own a pair of shoes. And the biggest shock didn't stop there. Because just a few hours later, I was the one kneeling and begging him. If you want to know what happened after that insane moment, make sure to subscribe right now, because what comes next is even more unbelievable. I was born into luxury. Everything around me was coated in gold, from the silver spoon I ate porridge with as a child to the very first car I drove at 16. People called me the princess of this city, and I always believed nothing in this world could ever scare me. But would you believe? The truth was the complete opposite. My father was a ruthless billionaire, a man who could shake global stock markets with a single phone call. And me, I was just a doll locked inside a glass cage. Everywhere I went, I had bodyguards. Whatever I studied, I had private tutors. Even my friends were carefully handpicked. Sounds like paradise, right? But have you ever thought that living in paradise can sometimes be its own kind of sweet prison? I was never allowed to buy snacks at a street market. I never once walked alone in the rain. And I certainly never knew what it felt like to be without. Every step of my life was planned out like a chess game, with my parents as the only players. And yet, the tighter the cage, the stronger my hunger to break free. Isn't it ironic that a girl who had everything longed for the very things others considered the most ordinary? There were nights I sat in my golden room, staring out through tall windows at the dusty streets below. I saw children playing together, laughing into the darkness, and suddenly I wondered, were they the ones who were truly rich? That fateful day came faster than I ever expected. The luxury car driving me around suddenly stopped because of a minor accident. In the chaos of those few seconds, I stepped out onto the street. And for the first time in my life, there were no bodyguards, no watchful eyes of the butlers, no shadow shielding me. I was lost in a street I had only ever dared to look at from afar. Have you ever found yourself in a place so unfamiliar that you stopped believing in your own strength? That was me in that moment. Every breath I took felt heavy with smoke and dust, drowned in honking horns, and the loud laughter of strangers. I felt so small, so pitifully fragile. And then, he appeared. A skinny boy, clothes torn to shreds, eyes glowing like stars in the night. He stood right in front of me, without fear, without hesitation. "Are you lost?" he asked, his voice calm, as if he had known me all along. Can you imagine a street kid daring to look straight into the eyes of a billionaire's daughter without the slightest tremor? I laughed, thinking that money would solve everything. But you know what? That was my very first mistake. Because from that moment on, my life turned down a road I had never imagined. I pulled a large bill from my pocket and casually held it out in front of him. At that moment, I believed every problem in the world could be solved with money. You think the same, that as long as you have money, no one dares to refuse you. But what happened next left me frozen. He glanced at the bill, then knocked it straight away. His eyes were sharp as blades, and his voice hit me like a slap across my pride. There are things your money will never buy. Can you believe it? For the first time in my entire life, I was rejected. Not just my money, but the very power I had always believed I held. In that moment, my heart trembled, not from fear, but from fury. How could a street kid dare to look down on me? Through clenched teeth, I demanded, "Then what do you want?" He only shrugged, a sly smile on his lips. "I want to see if you can walk through life, just once, without your money." Did you hear that? A boy with nothing dared to challenge me, the daughter of a billionaire. I didn't know whether to laugh at him or stay silent, but deep inside, I felt something strange. He had nothing to lose. And I had never known what it meant to lose. And that was the moment when the dangerous game between us began. The boy didn't say another word, he just walked away. I hesitated for a few seconds, then decided to follow him. And that was the very first time in my life I stepped into the underground world, hidden right in the middle of a city I thought I knew so well. The narrow alley was dark and suffocating, reeking of mold and garbage. Have you ever walked through a place where even the bricks in the walls felt like they wanted to swallow you whole? I, who was used to crystal towers, was now trembling inside a maze of rusted tin roofs. He pointed toward a group of kids playing a game with an old soda can. Their laughter roared like thunder, wild and free. I froze. How could a bunch of barefoot kids in torn clothes smile so brightly? Have you ever wondered where true happiness really lives? In $1 million mansion? Or in an empty soda can tossed back and forth? He handed me a piece of cold bread, wrapped in a scrap of newspaper. I frowned. But then I took a bite. And I couldn't believe it. That bread, dry and hard, tasted sweeter than any lavish dinner my private chef had ever served me. Why? Maybe because for the first time, I felt like I wasn't just eating. I was alive. In that moment, I looked at him. He smiled, and his eyes sparkled as if to say, "Welcome to the real world." Do you think I ran away right then? Or did I step in deeper, only to uncover a truth that would change my life forever? If you want to know what lies ahead, don't forget to hit subscribe right now because this story is only just beginning. I thought I was just playing some kind of silly challenge. But the deeper I went into that world, the more I realized. The one being tested wasn't the boy. It was me. He showed me how to earn every single coin by collecting cans, cleaning car windows, even singing at random on the street corner. At first, I laughed at him. But then, my heart pounded when loose change dropped into my hands. Can you believe it? That feeling shook me more than any unlimited credit card my father had ever handed me. He taught me how to listen. In a shabby little shop, he asked an old woman about her life. I sat there, stunned, as she told stories of loss yet smiled as though she had everything. Have you ever met someone with nothing? And realized they were richer than billionaires? That night, I looked up at the sky. No neon lights. No crystal ceilings. Just a black dome scattered with stars. I whispered, I've never seen the sky like this before. The boy laughed. That's because you've never looked up. Those words cut into me like a knife. For the first time in my life, I felt small, ignorant, and more pitiful than anyone. Me, a billionaire's daughter learning how to live from a street kid. And do you want to know the strangest part? I didn't feel ashamed. I felt grateful. Everything seemed calm. Until that familiar black car came speeding toward us. The door swung open, and my father's bodyguard stormed out, yanking me from the dusty alley. Then my father appeared, his face colder than ice, his eyes sharp enough to cut me in half. "What do you think you're doing?" he growled. Before I could answer, the boy stepped forward, standing between me and my father. Can you believe it? A street kid daring to face the most powerful man in the city head-on. My father let out a bitter laugh, pulled out his wallet, and threw a stack of cash on the ground. "Disappear. This is more money than you'll ever see in your life. Stay away from my daughter." I froze. I thought the boy would pick up the cash, bow his head, and walk away. But no. He simply looked at my father, then pushed the money back toward him. "Did you forget?" he said quietly. "I was the one who saved you in that accident years ago. Without me, you wouldn't even be standing here." The world exploded in my ears. Can you imagine it? The very boy my father despised had once been his savior. My father's face went pale, his hands trembling. For the first time in my life, I saw him, the man who never bowed to anyone, fall completely silent. In that moment, I realized the real storm had only just begun. I stepped forward, standing between my father and the boy. My heart pounded wildly, but my voice rang out clearer than ever. All my life, I've only been taught how to spend money. But he's the one who taught me how to live. The entire world fell silent. Can you imagine it? A billionaire's daughter daring to say right to her father's face that she had learned more from a street kid than from him. My father glared at me, but this time, I didn't flinch. I laid my phone, my wallet, even my diamond watch on the ground. All of this is no longer my power. I choose to follow what money can't buy. The boy looked at me, stunned. His eyes trembled, as if he couldn't believe that one day, the billionaire's daughter would stand openly on his side. What do you think he'll do? Accept me as an ally? Or walk away, refusing to believe I'd truly changed? In that moment, I knew I had crossed a line I could never return from. And no matter what waited ahead, I had no regrets. Do you want to hear the ending, the moment everything closes with a lesson that will leave you speechless? Hit subscribe right now, because the final chapter will change the way you see the world forever. I don't even remember exactly how that day ended. All I recall is walking away with empty hands, but a heart overflowing with something I had never carried before. Truth. All my life I had been taught that wealth meant having more than everyone else. But that street boy showed me something simple. True wealth is cherishing what you have, no matter how little. And the poorest person in the world is the one who has everything, but values nothing. My story isn't here for you to pity me, nor for you to admire me. It's here to remind you of one thing. Never underestimate anyone. Because sometimes, the very people you look down on are the ones who can teach you the greatest lesson of your life. So what do you think? Who was truly rich in this story? If you want to hear more stories that will make you see the world with new eyes, don't forget to hit subscribe right now. Because what's coming next will shake you even harder than this.